Here, you're ready for your dose of reality. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dr. Quack Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. We're continuing down this saga known as Survivor Series, one of the more odd pay-per-views in general across the World Wrestling Federation, World Wrestling Entertainment. They keep changing what they want to do with it. And this time, we got one that was rather interesting, but it was rather historically significant. We have this one right here.
Oh, yeah. Survivor Series 1997. Mixed bag. I would really say a mixed bag.
A mixed bag. As I said, this is one I actually enjoyed after watching it through the clear eyes of being a professional wrestler. I still enjoyed this one. And we're going to talk about the history on this one because there is a ton of history involved in this show.
Oh, yeah. This took place on November 9th, 1997 at the Molson Center here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. The big tagline here was gang rules.
Yes, because in 96, 97, the WWF coming out of the really god-awful, whatever they try and repackage 92 to 95, they call it so many different things trying to hide it. They decided they wanted to do gang warfare. So they had Los Boricuas, which was a Puerto Rican group. They had the Nation of Domination, the Disciples of Apocalypse, Degeneration X, the Canadians. For a while, they even had a Stars and Stripes. So they've gone through a lot of different teams and warfares. So they were kind of ending it at this point, and that's why they called this thing gang warfare.
Yeah. On commentary, on American commentary, we had Ross and Jerry Lawler. Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler, great duo.
Yeah, but Jerry Lawler still was goofy at this point. He was still playing heel. He still was trying to think he was funny when he was not. He'd have the occasional funny one-liner, but other than that, after about 10 minutes, you want to shove a bar of soap down his throat.
And on the Spanish announce team, we had Carlos Cabrera and Tito Santana.
That's right. Hugo Savinovich was not here at this time. He had taken some time off. He needed surgery to replace a hip. He's a former Ecuadorian professional wrestler, so he was getting older, so he needed to take a break.
Yeah, and on French commentary, we even had a French commentary team here. We had Jacques Rougeau Sr., we had Ray Rougeau, and Gene Brassard.
Yeah, Gene Brassard.
There you go.
Who would do the commentary for the Toronto organization when it was run by the president. I always draw a blank on his name, and he's one of my favorite guys.
Do not know.
From the World Wrestling Federation, the acting president.
Oh, before. Jack Tunney.
Jack Tunney, thank you. My apologies there for forgetting that, but he was the play-by-play guy for Jack Tunney's Toronto Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
So.
And on ring announcer, who was the ring announcer? You want to pronounce that one?
Yeah, Albert DeFruzia was the ring announcer because they performed in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and the primary language of Montreal is French. Hence why we had the French announce team and why we had a French ring announcer, which Jerry Lawler kept making fun of throughout the show.
And referees.
Yeah, we had a lot of referees. Jack Doan, Jimmy Corderas, Mike Chioda, Tim White, and Earl Hebner.
Yes, great star-studded cast on that. But let's get into the show here.
The first match, I'll say, do we have to?
Yes, because it's the New Age Outlaws. The Road Dogg, Jesse James, the Badass Billy Gunn, and the Godwins, Henry O. and Phineas I over there, Godwin, taking on the Headbangers and the Blackjacks, the new Blackjacks there.
Yeah, so let's start with the Road Dogg and Badass Billy Gunn. They were not known as the New Age Outlaws at this time. This is calling themselves the New Age Outlaws. They were a brand new team. They'd only been together a month or two, causing a lot of problems. They did things like stole the shoulder pads away from the Legion of Doom.
Yes.
So they were going over this, and their chemistry was still getting together. I don't understand the pairing with the Godwins, although later they became known as Southern Justice. So, least Midian or Phineas Godwin had clothes on at this time. Thank God for that.
There you go.
Taking on the Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, which they were at about 6 or 8 months at this time wearing dresses.
Yep.
And the New Blackjacks, this was the original tag team of the Blackjacks was Blackjack Mulligan and Blackjack Lanza. Mm-hmm. Well, Blackjack Mulligan's son, Barry Windham, was in the New Blackjacks as Blackjack Mulligan Jr. or Blackjack Wyndham. They kept flipping back and forth. And Justin Hawk Bradshaw or JBL. So we had JBL now with a mustache and black hair. He does not do Tom Selleck justice.
No, he doesn't. This match, I'm telling you, it was man. I hated it for an opener, but I can understand why they put it there, I guess.
Yeah. This... In all honesty, between the first two matches, this was the better choice. The third match made absolutely no sense to start off with, so I see why they put it here. But this match was really disjointed. The Canadian crowd hates Billy Gunn. They booed the hell out of him for no reason. He sticks his hand out, they would boo him. He gets out of the ring, they boo him. They get in the ring, they boo him. He throws a punch, they boo him. They hated Billy Gunn. And this match, you're right, it was very disjointed. This was two tag teams who had no other reason to be around each other, four tag teams who had no reason to be around each other. So the match was very disjointed and very confusing. It was okay. I went 2 stars with it. So the order was Henry Godwin went out first, then Blackjack Wyndham, then Mosh, then Phineas, then Bradshaw, and then Thrasher, leaving the Road Dogg and Badass Billy Gunn as the survivors.
Yeah, I went straight with this. I'm going 2 stars. Yeah, this was just not, great. This pay-per-view, you're going to notice a lot of this. So,
yeah, this one, like I said, it was very disjointed. It was one of the last times they had any kind of team warfare was this pay-per-view. They really kind of gave up on it after that. We'll explain that as we get to the Nation of Domination coming up in a few matches.
Yeah, the next match we had the Truth Commission, the Jackal, the Interrogator, Sniper, and Recon taking on the DOA, Disciples of Apocalypse, Crush, Chains, 8 Ball, and Skull. Yay, we got a Jackal sighting! Yay!
Yeah, Don Callis is the Jackal. He's now at AEW.
He is.
He's been around for a very, very long time. He was a wrestler, but because he was such a good talker, they kept him out of the ring because he wasn't really a good worker. Believe it or not, the way he started out in the World Wrestling Federation, he was supposed to team with Rick Martel as the Supermodels.
That is something new. I did not know that.
Now, he took over the leadership of the Truth Commission because the Commandant, who was a South African actor, refused to take bumps, so they fired him and brought in Don Callis to be the Jackal, the leader of the Truth Commission. With the Interrogator, who was Kurgan, amongst all the other oddity things he's done in his career. He's still god-awful, by the way.
First big name I ever got to meet.
Yep. Sniper, who is a French-Canadian wrestler who had a huge career in Germany for Catch Wrestling Alliance under Otto Wanz. He was around for a very, very long time in Germany. And then we've got Recon, who was Bull Buchanan, who was Gimmick to the Star wrestler. Whatever new stable arrived that needed somebody, whether it was Right to Censor or anything else, you got Bull Buchanan.
Yeah.
Taking on the Disciples of Apocalypse. Now, Crush is Demolition Crush, Jailbird Crush, all the other Crushes. Now he's just Biker Crush.
Biker Crush.
Chains was a guy named Brian Lee, who was the fake Undertaker. When the Undertaker worked the Undertaker, he's the one wearing the purple.
Yeah.
He also was a big star in Smoky Mountain under Jim Cornette as Primetime Brian Lee. Very, very good worker, just not a lot of chemistry, and he actually didn't like the travel schedule. That's why he never really went big time. And Skull and 8 Balls are the Harris twins, Jacob and Eli Blue, all the other names for those guys. They're nice guys. They tend to open their mouth and say stupid things. That's why they never had a great career. This was another one. I went 2 stars on this one. The Jackal got eliminated quickly and early and then went out and did commentary. That's what he was good at. So anyway, Chains went out first, then the Jackal, then Recon, then Skull, then 8-Ball, then Sniper, and then Crush, leaving the sole survivor, the Interrogator, Kurgan.
Yeah, I mean, basically, this was to push Kurgan. This is what they wanted to do. They wanted him to be a big threat. They wanted him to move up in the professional wrestling ranks, but he didn't, even though he got this massive push.
Yeah, when you're really sloppy and you can't figure out, like, his move in the beginning was the sidewalk slam, which the sidewalk slam, you want to hold him at waist level. Well, when you're holding the head down and he was dropping people on his head and he couldn't figure out how to hold him properly, and his punches, he was knocking teeth out. Yeah, he was really sloppy, really dangerous, and really uncoordinated in real life.
Just because you're big doesn't mean you're going to make it.
Doesn't mean you're a basketball player either. With Kurgan, they tried that. They tried to move him to basketball. He couldn't play that either.
He could not. Yeah, I went with you on this. I went about 2 stars on this. This just was not, at the beginning, definitely not a
great match. This was definitely a story-driven match. You're right. It was basically to put over the Kurgan and the Truth Commission, which both fizzled out like bad farts like they were.
They really did. Moving along here, we had Team Canada taking on the Team USA, British Bulldog, Jim Neidhart, Doug Furness, Philip Lafont, taking on Vader, Mark Merrow, Steve Blackman, and my 2-finger salute award going to Gold Dust, because this whole match made no sense with him in it. I'm like, I get it. You were forever unchanged and all that. But in reality, you didn't belong in this match. This should have been a good competition-style USA versus Canada match. But no, we had to throw Crybaby FU Goldust in here. And that's why he gets my 2-finger salutes.
As I said before, I liked this show even after watching it. This is that exception to the rule. This was the only match I didn't remember. And there's a good reason for it. Now, I actually ranked this one higher than the other 2 matches, even though you're right, this was stupid. Jerry Lawler even called this one out of, the Canadian team was unified, even though they did point out that there was only one person on Team Canada that was born in Canada, which was funny, and that's Phil Lafont, who's actually from Canada, but he's not from Montreal. And Gold Dust at this time, to explain what was happening with Gold Dust. It's well known Gold Dust was married to Marlena or Terry Runnels. They had a daughter together named Dakota. Gold Dust just had left his wife and child to start dating somebody for like 2 or 3 months. Then he figured out he wasn't happy with it. Well, Marlena wouldn't take him back. No. So you saw the cast on his head. That was in real life. That was an incident backstage where Terry Runnels wouldn't take him back and he punched the exit door and broke his hand. So he was not in a good mental place in real life, and the WWF, like we've said in the past, will take real life things and try and make a storyline out of it. It doesn't work. It didn't work when they made Hawk an alcoholic. It didn't work here with the real life family problems. It didn't work when Matt Hardy and Lita had their fall apart. Stop doing it. Don't make real life a gimmick. So that's what was happening with Gold Dust. Now, Mark Merrow was just starting his heel turn here, where everybody was giving things to Sable, and he was acting like the jealous ass, which he was not, but Marlena was the jealous ass. This was Steve Blackman's debut also. Yes. He appeared out of the crowd as somebody trying to break up a fight and became a wrestler for it. And he wasn't horrible. He spent 5 years in the F. He wasn't horrible. But he suffered from Dan Severin's problem of he's so dangerous in real life, he had trouble making his stuff look believable.
Yes.
Taking on the British Bulldog, Neidhart, Doug Furness, and Phil Lafont. Now, these 2 guys were primarily Japanese tag team wrestlers. Yes. Doug Furness was also a power lifter and set multiple records in the junior heavyweight division as a power lifter. But these guys in the United States really didn't catch on. They were all over WWF.
They did pretty decent. Yeah.
They did decent. Phil Lafont was known as Dan Crawford in ECW. So now that we've covered all of that history, I did give this thing 2.5 stars, but it was dumb. Blackman got counted out, so he went out first, and Neidhart went out, then LaFawn, then Mark Merrow, then Goldust eliminated himself because he got tagged in and he punched Vader and walked away. Then Doug Furness, then Vader, leaving the Bulldog as the sole survivor. Now, one other thing I will bring up here on the history. The All-American team used the entry music of a song called Metal. Medal, Metal. That was also used by the Patriot, Del Wilkes, and later became Kurt Angle's.
And you're forgetting one.
Music. Which one did I forget?
Mark Henry.
Oh, that's right. Mark Henry's as well. I did forget about Mark Henry's. I did forget about that. But that song was not written for Kurt Angle like everybody thinks. It was actually written for Del Wilkes.
Yes.
And then when he left, they gave it to Henry, and then they gave it to the All-Americans, and then Kurt Angle got it. So now that covers all of that. I'll let you have some fun talking.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Blackman thing, I was okay with him getting counted out because he was brand new. He didn't know the rules of professional wrestling. He knew the rules of MMA. But Goldust being in there still was one of the worst things in all this show. I mean, there's a lot of things that were bad in this show. We're going to cover it. But that right there, I'm like, just why didn't you replace him with, like, anybody? Anybody. You could have thrown Aldo Montoya in there from 95, and I would have been okay with it because it would have made more sense. At least he would have fought.
They had Al Snow here at this time as well. He would have been a good replacement.
But they had to go with Goldust. And yeah, that for me, that's why I got 2.25. I was not very happy with that. I wanted to see, I remember being watching this as a kid. I wanted to see Team USA win, because I'm an American. But the way they did this was just, God.
Yeah, this was also a bizarro match because they're in Canada. Team Canada was cheered. Team USA was booed. I think that's part of why they put this team together. Most of these people were heels or were used to being heels. So I think that's why they did it.
Yeah. And moving along here, we've got Kane taking on Mankind with Paul Bearer in the red and black.
Yeah, this was... Yes. We've reviewed it where Paul Bearer joined Mankind and started managing Mankind. Well, this is about a year after that, where now the brother Kane is out and Paul Bearer is not with Mankind anymore. He's now with Kane. And Mankind has also revealed that he's Cactus Jack and Mick Foley and Dude Love and a few other things. So we get this. This was Kane's in-ring debut for a match. He'd been there about a month. He'd been tearing things up and pulling things apart and beating people up. But this was his first match as Kane. Yes. He was not the Christmas creature. He was not Isaac Yank of DDS.
He was not one of the Knights.
He was not one of the Knights. He was not fake Diesel. He was Kane.
Kane! Kane!
And this was a strong, good storytelling match. It was a good debut for Kane. I really enjoyed this match. I went 3.25 on this one.
Wow. You're all high on this. I went 3 stars. I'll go with you on that. It was a great match. It was probably one of the top matches of the card.
Yeah, and along the way, we had Kevin Kelly and Michael Cole. They did some interviews. They were so unforgettable. I don't want to mention them. And Doc Hendrick did one later on. We'll just say they existed.
Yeah, that's good enough for me. Moving along here, we had Ken Shamrock, Ahmed Johnson, and the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, taking on The Rock, Farouk Kama Mustafa, and D'Lo Brown in a 4-on-4.
Yeah, this is not The Rock. This is Rocky Maivia. He's still...
Well, he just came The Rock, actually, with the Nation Domination.
Well, they're still calling him Rocky Maivia. He didn't totally change his gimmick to just be The Rock.
It was that moment.
Yeah, he'd been one time, and he'd been an Intercontinental Champion before. He's getting ready to get it back because in about 2 months, Stone Cold Steve Austin's going to throw the IC title off a bridge.
Yes.
And give up the IC title so that he can go on to WrestleMania 14 and beat Shawn Michaels to win the WWF World title. So that's where we're at with this history. The Nation of Domination is just about done at this point. Taking on Shamrock, Ahmed Johnson, and the Legion of Doom. Now, this match was... it was okay. It was kind of a storytelling match. It was more just to push the storyline of The Rock is important. The Rock is going to mean something to the WWF, and that Shamrock means something to the WWF. The rest of these guys they really didn't care about. Hawk went out first on a really dumb. He was throwing flying clotheslines and flying lariats, and Farouk, I think it was Farouk, hit him with one clothesline, and down goes Hawk.
Yeah.
Then Farouk got eliminated, which was another dumb one. It was basically, he gets hit with something, and then the ref doesn't see it, but the ref is standing right next. Oh, no, it was an ankle pull. And the ref was standing right next to him, and they didn't see it, and the ref got holding the ankle down, and they didn't see that, so that was dumb. Then we had Ahmed Johnson go out. Good thing, he was dangerous. Then Kama Mustafa went out, then Animal, then D'Lo Brown, and then The Rock got eliminated, leaving Ken Shamrock the sole survivor in a 2.25 star affair.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I went with it. I mean, this is...
If you ever notice, if you go watch the Survivor Series from about 92 to 99, roughly, you go watch that time frame, you're going to notice it's a lot more storyline based than actually giving a damn about the action.
Which is true. Now, this was a very important stuff. Like I said, this led to Rocky Maivia getting known as The Rock and being allowed to cut promos, which is where he became fully known as The Rock. Yes, he started out as The Rock in the Nation of Domination, trying to get rid of the Die Rocky Die stuff, but it wasn't until they let him cut his own promos where he became The Rock.
Right,
Turn him up to 11.
Yep, this also led to Steve Austin getting his world title push to win the title in '98.
Yeah.
This led to The Rock. The famous angle with the Rock becoming the IC champion because he supposedly went swimming in a river, even though they never found the title in real life.
So there we go. We're going to move on here to my Quack Attack, because this match was really good here. I love this match for several reasons. A, it was short. B, and this is the big thing that people don't understand. You don't have to have a 30-minute Broadway to make it a great match. This match was 5 minutes, but it told the story between Owen Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. You didn't have to go a whole long time. Austin hit that stunner, called it a day, took the title, and left. And fans went from completely booing him to cheering him on the way out.
Yes, they did.
This match, to me, gets 3.5 stars.
I went 3.5 as well on this one. This was 3 months after the incident where Owen Hart accidentally spiked Stone Cold on his head. So that's where Owen Hart had the title, and then Stone Cold won it back from him.
the worst roll-up in history.
Yeah, but it was necessary because Stone Cold could barely move.
He could.
So this was the next one after that. He's right. It was short, only 5 minutes and 14 seconds long. The story package on it was only about 2 minutes. So the whole thing, the story was told very quickly, but very appropriately. The match was good. The action was good. Owen Hart did a great job of putting over his fear of Stone Cold and yet saying he was going to end his career. They teased the pile driver a couple of times. Led to a quick stunner that was appropriately done, well placed. It wasn't oversold. He just took his bump, flipped over, and he got pinned. And that was the end of the match. 3.5 stars. It was a great match.
Yeah, and it was funny watching the Hart Foundation come in one by one, take stunners, and he rolled out. I mean, the fans were cheering him instead of the home country team people.
Yeah, and they started out booing him because he was facing Owen Hart, who was holding a belt.
Yes.
That's the kind of effect Stone Cold Steve Austin had on people, and that's why he carried them for 2.5 years.
And that's why that got my
Quack Attack. But now we're going into the main event.
Main event, yeah!
Shawn Michaels against Bret Hart for the WWF Championship. And here's what's funny. This is not the first time they fought for that title on Survivor Series, because that actually happened in '92. Young Shawn Michaels losing to Bret Hart. He went for a big drop kick off the top, got hit with that sharpshooter. That was back when they were friends, even on the outside, when there wasn't so many sunny days.
Yeah, this is a very infamous / famous match in wrestling history. It's often known as the Montreal Screw Job. Now, we're not going to relitigate the Montreal Screw Job. Neither one of us were there, and the stories are so wildly and vastly different. Unless you were there, you don't know the whole story, because the two people in the match don't even tell the same story.
But I will plug, if you want to know about a story, go talk with Jerry Lawler about what happened in the bathroom.
There you go.
That's the best one.
There you go. So, this match, I gave it 4 stars. This match was 19 minutes plus 6.5 minutes prior of fighting to get into the ring. They really put over their true life animosity of each other. Now, I will say, good job to both Shawn Michaels, who we've called a jerk many times on this thing, and good job to Bret Hart. Neither one of them took liberties, which means, kayfabe word of the day, take liberties, which means you do things extra hard or put more emphasis into your moves to apply pain for real because you don't like each other. Kayfabe word of the day, taking liberties. And neither one of them did this here. Yeah. They both, Bret Hart had one scar here where he caught a tooth on Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels gave him one forearm shot back to the side of the head, which is the normal receipt for that. Other than that, everything was very professional, and the match was very well told, a very great storytelling match. Earl Hebner, the villain in this match. And also at this time, Vince McMahon was known to be the chairman and the owner of the World Wrestling Federation, although it wasn't, the Mr. McMahon character did not exist. He was still doing commentary and stuff, but it was just kind of that Vince was, oh yeah, he's the owner, move on. So that's why he went down there, and it was not seen as a huge thing. But this led to the Mr. McMahon character. So we've talked about important parts in wrestling history. February 5th, 1988, the 2 referees. We've talked about the start of the New World Order and the start of Austin 316. We've talked about the death of WCW and Bash at the Beach and its ultimate death in greed. This one truly is more historically significant because the Mr. McMahon character led to Stone Cold Steve Austin becoming the champion, which led to the World Wrestling Federation closing down 3 other wrestling companies and becoming the only thing walking, and caused Vince McMahon to become a billionaire. So I would say this is more historically significant than any other point in wrestling history. The Montreal Screwjob, November 9th, 1997.
I'm going to go with the history part of it. The match was good itself. I'm actually going to go 4.25 stars on this. I felt like this was probably one of the best matches you're ever going to find in a Survivor Series, and definitely amongst the greats of all time.
Yeah, it was a solid, well-told, good storytelling match. Yes, the ending kind of killed. It could have been a 4.5 star if they had a real ending, but it still was a great match. The ending didn't hurt it that badly.
Yeah. Well, that's the end of our show here. Done with that one, and we're going to continue on with one of your favorites here, right there.
And this is the one I suggested too, as yes it is.
Oh, yes it is.
Yes it is. We get to go into the invasion.
Oh, yeah. Survivor Series.
Can I hang myself now for suggesting this?
That's up to you. But I'm Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. And if you feel like you're having suicide, dial 988. By the way, I just joke about it. Just kidding. 988 is a real phone number.
It is.
But I would hate to deprive you guys of covering this.
Watch us. Don't watch the pay-per-view, and we'll see you next time.